Let's kick some ash. Geekygirl183. Chapter 6. C.H.E.R.U.B. Summary. When cherubs, imps, and a Hellcat clash over the life of a shitty old man, things sure do happen. Notes. See the end of the chapter for notes. Chapter text. Warning. The following contains graphic violence, naughty language, horny humans, horny demons, mentions of substance abuse, and is intended for mature audiences. Viewer-reader discretion is advised. Third-person POV, fuck me dead. Aiden was not having a good time. After the slip-ups she'd been making on recent missions, and the nightmares that kept replaying in her sleep to the point where she'd randomly shapeshift to her cat demon form while still in her burrow, nearly destroying it in the process, she decided that her nerves acting up was getting out of hand and she needed a way to keep that from happening. So here she was, walking with her paws in her pockets and dark circles under her eyes, making her glowing freckles dim while looking at the ground in the pride ring as she was on her way to visit an old acquaintance. Well. Been a while, Whiskers. To what do I owe the pleasure? A nasally voice sounded from the stall she was walking up to, and she looked up to see the familiar anthropomorphic boar sinner with 4 pairs of red-streaked tusks, dull orange eyes, a slicked-down head of hair, and wearing a dark blue denim jacket over a t-shirt with matching jeans with a hole cut in the back to let his tail swing around. Stuff it, Draga. Aiden grumbled in a tired tone as she leaned an elbow on the counter of the stall and leveled him with a deadpan glare as she told him, "You know what I want?" Mild? Course. Coming up. He went to work preparing her order, and Aiden dragged her free paw down her face as she noted the shaking coming from it, and she clenched it as the voices started to come back up again, but new ones were starting to join in. "You should learn to take a joke. Why don't you ever listen? Relax, this'll be over soon. Your life is over." Grrr. She crushed her eyes shut to keep the tears at bay, and both paws grabbed at her hair before, "Done!" Aiden unclenched her paws to see Droga with a clear, mid-sized, twist-tied baggie filled to the tie with murky green paw-shaped gummies, and he dropped them on the counter before holding out a hand to say, $100. What? Aiden's eyes snapped open, and her tail went straight before she pointed in his face to hiss, "Last time it was 60. Dunno what to tell ya, inflation and all that bullshit." Draga shrugged before Aiden pulled back, crossing her arms as she haggled, 70, 90, 85, $75 final offer only because you're a returning customer. Fafine. Aiden snapped as she pulled out 3 crumpled acid green bills and slammed them on the counter before snatching the baggie and walking off, flipping the bird behind her as he called out to her, "Pleasure doing business with you." Aiden growled as tried to rip the twisty tie off the bag with her shaky paws before getting too impatient and tore a hole in the bag with her teeth, causing some of the gummies to fall to the ground, and she rapidly picked them up to shove them and the baggie in her satchel before popping a few of the gummies into her mouth to dry swallow them. As soon as the familiar wave of calm washed over her and the shaking in her paws faded away, Aiden gave a small sigh of relief before realizing she was right outside of IMP. So she gave herself a quick brush over to look more normal before heading in. As soon as the elevator door opened to let her out on the 6th floor, she heard a song coming from through the door. "So sit right back and let us bless a soul for you." And just as she opened the door, "Oh, we are the C.H.E.R.U.B. Bang! She immediately jumped back with a frozen, wide-eyed expression as a shot blew up the TV where the song had been coming from, revealing Blitz, Luna, and Millie sitting at the table, while Moxie was standing near the blown-up TV with another in hand as Millie cheered and Blitz requested respectively, "Nice one, B! Gimme another, Mox." Aiden rolled her eyes as she went to sit at the table on the other side of a sleeping Luna with the others, who'd yet to notice she was there, as Moxie swept the broken TV off the stand, put the new one on, and turned it on with a scared look on his face as the 666 new logo appeared on the screen. But Blitz didn't like it as he reloaded his percussion pistol with gunpowder and told him, nah. Not feeling it. Next! While Moxie switched the channel to try to find something Blitz wanted to shoot, Aiden went through her bag to see that the gummies had all spilled out with a few having been squished against her chain, and weapon heads, and suppressed a groan before Blitz yelled out, "Bingo!" And he shot and exploded the TV again at some ad for Wacky Wally Wackford's Wacky Idea Factory, as Millie cheered again, "Woo! You're on a roll, sir!" Before the whole place started shaking, and Luna woke up from her nap to look down at where her water cup spilled all over the table as she asked, "Guys, do you feel that?" "Oh shit. Is that a hell shake?" Blitz questioned, making Moxie and Aiden ask, "That's possible? Seriously? All right. Don't panic, Moxie," Millie told her husband as she grabbed his arms to calm him down, before releasing him so he could say while making quotation marks with his hands, "I'm not panicking because hellquakes don't happen." But Luna roughly grabbed him and shook him violently as she yelled at him, "Stop getting hysterical, fatty!" before slapping him on the back of the head and sending him flying against the wall dazedly, where he remained stuck until some kind of wrecking ball made of black wires busted through the wall, burying Moxie under rubble and allowing a sinner with a supervillain aesthetic to enter. Luna and Aiden both started growling and snarling as the man who entered the room wielded several robotic black tentacles and announced them all. "Do not be afraid. Please tell me you got that insurance thing," Blitz told him before Millie shouted while taking out her axe. "Who are you, and what do you want?" The man introduced himself in a sing-song voice while doing a loop-de-loop with his body to slide to the other side of the room. "I am Loopty-Goopty, dastardly inventor of all things loopy and loopish!" "Could've just used the door, dude. Doesn't need to be this whole thing," Luna told him as waved a hand while scrolling through her phone. "I am eccentric and must therefore do eccentric shit." Loopty did a wavy dance as Blitz sniffed him and rapidly pulled away as he questioned, "Ugh, this old fuck reeks of the living world. Did you just die?" "Yes! Moments ago, in fact. Which is what brought me here." Aiden resisted covering her ears at Loopty's shrill voice when Luna muttered from where she was tapping away at her phone, "Just saying. The front door would have gotten you here fine." "Shut up, dear furry," Loopty told her, making her growl in anger before he turned back to Blitz with a photo in hand as he sang, "This is the man I'm gonna need you to Kyle!" The photo was of a wrinkly, short, old man in a bed with tiny little circular glasses, and Blitz took the photo while admiring as he walked up to shake his hand. Not even a shit's length of time in hell and already plotting revenge. "I can respect a man with that sort of passion." "I'm Blitz, the O is silent." "What O?" Loopty questioned, and Blitz thanked him before asking while shaking his hips around, "Aw, thank you. Now what's the T, sis?" "The Tia?" Loopty shrieked in confusion before Moxie cried out in a pained voice while raising an arm out of the debris, "Guys, help!" But Blitz didn't seem to hear as he asked, "Yeah, why are we killing this guy? I mean, what did he do to you?" "Losing." "Ox?" "Ha." Aiden sighed before she went over to Moxie as he squeaked out nearly out of breath while Loopty went on his backstory spiel that, frankly, she didn't care enough to listen to while she dug Moxie out from under the rubble and pulled his limp, nearly unconscious body up and out just before Blitz commented mildly, that's not really evil." "It's evil towards me," Loopty argued, while Moxie strained out from where he was still catching his breath with an arm slung around Aiden's shoulder as she held him up. "Everything. So, dark. Now get your crimson asses up above and send that heartless, no-good son of a bitch to hell where he belongs." Loopty commanded them all while Blitz tried to tell him, you do know, Poopty." "Loopty!" Loopty seethed as he corrected Blitz, and he held up his hands defensively and tried to reason with him. Of course. Of course. If we do kill him, though, and he ends up down here, you will be stuck with him. Forever. Oh, trust me." Loopty summoned a bunch of weapons from his back as he spoke with ready vengeance. "I'm counting on it." "That's kinda hot." Moxie strained out as he raised his free dangling hand in a thumbs up, making everyone glance their way as Blitz shouted incredulously, "The fuck, when did you get here, kid?" Aiden leveled them all with a deadpan stare. A short while later, the IMP crew with the Imps wearing wigs and disguises, and Aiden in her human form, with black and red aviator sunglasses and a matching skull clip in her hair added in, were on a tour bus that stopped right outside of Lyle Lipton's mansion. "Gee, I wonder whose house this is," Moxie commented sarcastically as he looked at the house through his binoculars. "And to your right is the home of famous inventor Lyle Lipton," the tour guide announced as if to solidify Moxie's point, and the crowd around them all oohed and took pictures while Blitz removed his sunglasses to declare to his team, "Let's do it, gang." Blitz pulled out his percussion pistol, Moxie readied his assault rifle, Millie unsheathed her twin swords, and Aiden prepared to use her Glock since her chain and weapon heads were out of commission. The four of them jumped over the fence and landed in poses before Millie announced, "Let's kill this rich guy!" The Imps and Hellcat raced over to the house, and Aiden could faintly hear the tour guide in the distance. "And here you'll find 4 tacky stalkers about to attempt a murder. Things like this could happen to famous people all the time." With the sound of camera snaps being heard as well, she gave them all the double birds before catching up with the others as they were pressing their faces against the window where, inside, was their target. Please tell me you're joking with that. Aiden questioned, seeing the cat sock puppet on Blitz's tail, and he poked her nose to question, Please tell me you're not sounding like a broken record. Whatever. Aiden turned back to the window, leaving Blitz slightly alarmed that she didn't snap at him for poking her nose, which she usually hated. Wow, that machine really did a number on him. Moxie commented as they saw how Lyle had gotten old enough to where he's been confined to bed with a heart rate monitor and an IV bag on either side, along with a TV and a video player, and the man himself was looking down at a framed picture in his hands as he kissed it, and spoke lovingly, Goodbye, my one true love. A closer look at the picture reveals it to be an image of dollar bills with a free stock photos watermark over it before it's put down, and Lyle started lamenting while grabbing the tube from the IV bag and tying it into a noose. All the riches of the world can't fill the emptiness I'm feeling now that my shitty old body can't do anything of value. Oh, fantastic! He's gonna do our job for us! Blitz cheered as Lyle finished making the noose and was pulling the knot tight as Moxie asked, Should we go in there and tie it for him? Nah, I think he got it. Aiden commented in an unfeeling tone as she and the others watched while drinking soda and snacking on popcorn. Lyle started to pull the noose over his head, but just as it was about to go over his forehead, it started to glow white, and a concussive force pushed out to where even the four outside could feel it, and Blitz watched as his cat sock puppet was blown away in the shockwave, making him sad while Aiden smirked triumphantly. Looking back into the house, though, Aiden saw 3 cherubs float down in 3 beams of heavenly light, and her eyes widened as she looked back to the others, saying, You might want to see this. Blitz and Moxie recovered from the blast to look through the window and see the 3 beings so Blitz could question and Moxie could start to answer. Who the fuck are they? Oh no, sir, those are cherubs, Mr. Lyle! The baby-looking cherub named Cletus introduced himself and his associates, but Lyle just yelled, I hate filthy, stinking orphan children. We're here to convince you not to kill yourself, sir, to grant you a blessing on behalf of those in heaven, benefited by your amazing technological advances. Colin the blue sheep cherub explained to him, and Blitz yelled angrily, Oh, hell no! Rolling up his sleeve while holding up his percussion pistol as he burst through the window, but fell to the ground with shards sticking out of him almost right after from misjudging the height of the window to the floor. Don't listen. C.H.E.R.U.B. Lyle Lipton, it is our... Moxie started to say from where he entered the mansion through the front door, but glanced over at Blitz before continuing to tell Lyle, Humble opinion that you should continue the process to commit die. I mean, what do you expect to do with all this money now you're old? And gross? Millie stepped in, making grossed-out hand motions. Is that a serious question? The yellow sheep cherub named Keeney questioned as she moved Lyle's bedsheets aside to reveal his dollar-filled wallet and grabbed it before announcing, He can help spread his wealth around with the people of the world. And do so much good with it. And be so fulfilled. She flew around their heads happily, throwing the bills around in the air with Aiden discreetly catching a few of them as Lyle whined, No! He could pay for new hospitals and schools. Colin continued trying to convince Lyle of what he could do, but he just complained while gripping his blanket. Why won't you let me die? I mean, with how old he's now, might as well get it over with. Aiden shrugged and Blitz agreed as he appeared beside him before asking, Oh, sounds like you need help offing yourself there, buddy. Moxie, what do we got for this fella? Moxie reached into his coat and tossed out a ton of different weapons to Blitz and Lyle as he listed off, I have some assault weapons, crossbow, hunting bow, Tommy gun, old-fashioned shotgun, revolvers in 3 colors, chainsaws, katanas. He's classier than that, Colin argued. Sure about that? Aiden raised an eyebrow at Lyle as he pointed an assault rifle into his mouth before Colin took it away to protest. There are still plenty of reasons to live, Mr. Lyle. Yeah, right. Smells like he ain't been out of bed in months, Millie argued as she sniffed near Lyle's bed before she covered her mouth with her hands and held her husband's shoulder to vomit on the floor. Life can be beautiful at any age, Cletus announced, and Keeney added, And we'll show him. Yeah! The cherubs cheered while the IMP crew yelled, No! Why are you so against life? Aren't you human? Cletus asked, looking in Aiden's direction and making them all question, What? Before Aiden spoke up, Oh, right. Shifting to her cat demon form as she argued, Just a disguise. The cherubs, Cletus in particular, all narrowed their eyes in unison before smiling brightly as they announced, Let's go. After a short time skip, they all found themselves on a hill overlooking a forest and lake, with Lyle having been rolled there in his bed, as Cletus declared, emphasizing with a wink, "Look around, Lyle. God's gift of nature is a wonder to behold, regardless of age or wealth. If you were to end your life, you'd be missing all of this," Colin added before Blitz appeared in a tiger costume asking, "You're gonna buy that load of shit from a baby and the sheep it fucks?" Making a circle with one hand and pointing a finger through it with the other hand to indicate sex making. Keeney gasped and covered her mouth before pointing at him to scold, "That is so inappropriate." "Right?" Aiden grumbled as she stood to the side wearing a red panda onesie with an eared hoodie and fake bushy tail where her real tail filled it. "Oh, kiss our ass, prude." Millie told them off while flipping them double birds as she and Moxie were in cat costumes, before turning to Aiden to assure her, "But not you, sweetie." Blitz shoved Lyle aside by the face to sit next to him as he noted, "Anyway, take it from me, a fellow genius. Nature is no picnic up close." Grabbing a pair of binoculars from out of nowhere and holding them up for Lyle to look through at a group of bunnies and squirrels cuddling together before a few of them are ripped apart and eaten by a pack of hungry wolves, making Lyle shout distressed, "Oh no!" "So stop looking." Colin stuttered out as he tried to pull the binoculars away, but Lyle kept a firm grip on them as he shouted, "I can't stop! I've never wanted to die more than I do now." A bear swiped a wolf to the ground, but just as it raised a paw to attack, it was crushed by a falling tree, cut down by a burly logger with a chainsaw before a beehive landed on the man's head, and he screamed, flailing his head to get the hive off while also throwing his chainsaw into the air, and it came back down, cutting both of the man's arms off and causing him to scream harder, before his body is skewered from behind by the antlers of a charging stag as lightning flashes dramatically behind it. Lyle and the Cherubs froze in horror, but Blitz faked it as he slapped his hands comically on the sides of his face before grinning smugly, seeing how horrified Lyle was. Let's go check out someplace else," Cletus urged, trying to stay positive, while, to the side, Millie and Moxie bumped paws and Aiden smirked triumphantly. After a quick trip to a local shopping mall, Lyle is pushed with his bed through the wall as he groans, "Oh, Lord. Where are we now? Let me perish. We're here to show you another thing life is worth living for. Childhood wonderment," Keeney told him as she gestured to the crowd of kids cheering while in line to sit on Santa's lap, making Lyle sigh wistfully. "Why, look at those sweet disease-ridden vermin. That their joy comes from innocence, unspoiled by the burdens of adulthood, and their middle-class existence. Such simple joy they have. It is inspiring. Thank you for showing me this." "Hey, dipshit," Blitz called out. With him and Millie were dressed as elves, a grumpy Moxie was dressed as Rudolph, and Aiden was frowning while wearing an inflatable Frosty the Snowman costume complete with a carrot cover on her nose, and asked the kid currently on Santa's lap, "Wanna see whose lap you're sitting on?" Before ripping off the costume to reveal a sweaty gnome wearing a Tarn Cuties shirt and underwear before making a gnome noise, making the kids scream and run away in terror, while Lyle sobbed like a baby as Colin and Keeney covered his eyes before he's pushed out of the mall by Cletus. "Santa's evil!" A boy cried out in terror, and Aiden snatched a candy cane from the boy running by, quickly sucked the tip to a sharp point and stabbed it down, popping the costume and tearing off the carrot nose cover she was wearing while griping, "Where the fuck even do these suits keep coming from?" Another short trip resulted in them all arriving in the woods, where a wooden sign that read, "Lovers Lookout," with a heart replacing the O in lovers, with a side note underneath that read, "I guess." And Lyle glowered, This place reeks of teenagers. Lovers Lookout, sir. We're here to remind you about possibly life's greatest joy of all," Cletus announced with Lyle guessing while holding up his shaky, grabby hands. "Money!" "No. Love." Colin brought up gently before Lyle admitted, "I've never been in love before. I imagine it's quite nice." "It's not too late, sir. You can still find—" Colin was about to encourage him, but was cut off when Blitz, now wearing makeup, a large blonde wig, black hoop earrings, a pink feather boa, and a puffy pink dress, jeered, "Ha! Nice try, ugly," before pulling out a megaphone to announce to the teens there, "Hey, horny lovers, which one of you would fuck this old man?" Abruptly, all the cars on the ledge sped off in unison into the distance as Lyle deflated with a dejected expression. Colin got right into Blitz's face as he stuttered angrily, "You know, you four are so utterly cruel. We're just trying to give hope to someone in need. Oh, and you three are so superior to us just because we want some selfish, greedy, authoritarian capitalist to keel over dead?" Moxie sassily retorted in his orange bob wig and business suit-esque dress, while waving his hands around for emphasis. "You're making things too real now, Moxie." Blitz noted as he walked up to Moxie with a spray bottle labeled piss in his hands before he sprayed him with it, and Moxie hissed while flinching away. "Plus, who are you to decide what's best for humans?" Aiden pointed out as she had a hand to her hip in her orange to neon red glittery gradient, with a lacy trim dress with a black leather mock-laced corset around her waist and a mini sparkly orange bolero jacket. "Exactly," Millie agreed in her pink skater dress with pink bows at her waist and one tying her hair up in a ponytail as she held her hand up in a high five that Aiden returned without looking. Another short trip later, the Cherubs had taken Lyle to an opera house where on stage a woman dressed as a Viking with a fake unicorn on her lower torso sang while a well-dressed man played the piano behind her. In the audience, the Cherubs had dressed up while Lyle only put on a bow tie over his sweat-stained hospital gown, as Cletus declared, "Behold, the wonder of art and music, something always there to comfort, entertain, and live for." Above the stage, the Imps and Demon Cat are on the catwalk near the row of spotlights with Blitz wagging his butt and tail like a cat making Aiden deadpan. "Please stop that." But it went unheard as Millie asked, "So, how do we make this bad?" "We can't. There's literally nothing bad about opera. That's fact," Moxie tried to assert due to his love for the theater. "Unless we ruin it somehow." Blitz shook his butt in Moxie's face, making him grimace before grabbing one of the spotlights to move it away from the singer, making her stop before rushing to the light, only for it to move away again and again and again. "She's not very good." Lyle grumbled from how the opera singer kept pausing from chasing the light around, going even faster as Blitz chuckled from how aggressively he was moving the light until it broke and fell toward the stage, the opera singer hitting one final high note before the light crushed her and sent blood splattering all over the stage. "Ah!" The Cherubs, Lyle, and everyone in the audience screamed before the nervous-looking piano man continued playing despite the tragic turn of events. "Well, at least we made it bad." Blitz held his hands up in a shrugging manner, and Aiden asked tiredly, "Can we just kill him already?" Right before the Cherubs flew up to the four of them with angry expressions on their faces as Cletus yelled at them, "That's it! I have had it! You four monsters have messed with us enough. Ew, we're just trying to do our GG job." Colin stuttered angrily. "Well, so are we," Moxie argued. "Enough!" Cletus shouted as he, Keeney, and Colin summoned golden crossbows and aimed them at the Imps and Aiden before continuing, "We are saving that shitty old man's life, whether he wants it or not." "Well, someone wants that fucker dead, McKay. And he paid in advance, and I spent it all on this." Blitz retorted to them before reaching into his coat to pull out a bedazzled green horse figurine, wearing sunglasses and a cap that had Mary Awana on it, as he finished while pointing to Lyle down below. "So he's gotta go." Keeney got into his face and started ranting, "You all are such disgusting, loathsome beasts. Your kind is nothing but dirt that shitty dead people tread on, and now you're trying to meddle with the lives of humans? So are you." Aiden pushed Keeney away from Blitz with a harsh claw poke to her chest, before Millie stepped in front of her to yell at Keeney while pulling her close by her necklace. "Yeah, so why don't you shut your trap? You judgmental, cotton candy, tit-having bitch!" Keeney was silent for a few seconds before she shrieked, "Filthy demon crap!" and tackled Millie to the ground before trying to punch her in the face while Cletus and Colin went after Blitz, Moxie, and Aiden, shooting at them with golden arrows, before Moxie ran down one catwalk way while Blitz and Aiden went down another and split off again when Aiden swung onto another catwalk with a rope that had a small metal bar tied to the end of it. Millie and Keeney's fight wound up with them rolling off the catwalk, and Moxie diving down to catch a rope to swing downward with one hand, holding up his gun as he aimed for the rope, holding up a sandbag to release it onto Keeney, before swooping in to save his wife from falling before Colin went after the two of them, before Keeney caught up with them. As the two of them swung around, Millie grabbed onto Moxie's face before they started to make out, and Millie grabbed two machine guns out of her husband's coat to fire them rapidly, while they spun and swung around on the rope. Above them, Blitz was still on the catwalk when Moxie's bow tie and Millie's bra flew by as they continued shooting to where most of the audience was killed, until he noticed that he lost track of Aiden. Meanwhile, Cletus had tracked her down to another catwalk level, where she had been trying to see if her weapons would clean themselves up by shifting to human form, but they didn't, and she was about to yell in frustration when Cletus snuck up behind her and yelled, "Gotcha!" He shot her with multiple golden arrows that hit her in the chest and stomach, making her flinch and raise her arms to her face, but then her eyes opened back up when she saw she was fine, patting herself down to make sure of it. "What the?" Cletus was about to yell when Aiden flicked her belt wrap aside to reveal the gun holster strapped to the side of her knee and rapidly pulled the Glock out to aim it at him and fire. But she missed and it instead hit a light near him, making it send out a shower of sparks that made Cletus back away to avoid catching fire, giving Aiden enough time to shift to Hellcat form so she could run away, shifting back to Demon Cat form to swing on the occasional loose hanging rope as she did so. "You bitch!" Cletus yelled as he flew after her, shooting more arrows her way that she was able to nimbly dodge after shifting to Hellcat form as he continued. "You're no mere demon, you're a He was cut off when something reached out and snatched Hellcat Aiden off a catwalk and was revealed to be Blitz as he ran along a perpendicular running scaffolding with Aiden hanging limply in his tail's grip, even as she protested petulantly. "You can put me down now." But he didn't listen as he aimed his pistol around trying to see where Cletus disappeared to, before jumping onto a piece of scaffolding that was being precariously held up by a piece of rope that led to the rope that was swinging Millie and Moxie around before he saw Cletus in front of them and tried to shoot him, only to discover his pistol was out of ammo. After looking at it in shock, Blitz threw it at Cletus, hitting him in the eye and making him yell, "Oof, you fucker!" causing him to fire his crossbow half-blind as it severed the rope holding up the scaffolding, sending it, an IMP, tumbling down to the stage where they crashed near the piano on a plank of wood that was bending the piano upward, on the verge of snapping. Once the pianist straightened out his bow tie and stepped off the bent board onto the piano bench, the board snapped, sending the piano flying out into the audience, where Lyle had finished having his epiphany of continued life. "Ah!" he squealed girlishly before fumbling out of bed to try to avoid the piano, smiling triumphantly as he thought he avoided it, but the piano suddenly shifted in mid-air to fall right on top of him, killing him at last. From where IMP was sitting on the fallen scaffolding with Aiden, still in her Hellcat form, in Blitz's tail's grip, and Millie and Moxie tied up from where they'd gotten tangled up in the rope they were swinging from before as Moxie taunted, "Well, well, would you look at that? You did our job for us." "Ha!" Millie smirked as she gave the Cherubs double birds before they stared at Lyle's corpse as Colin panicked, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my god!" making Keeney grab him by his shirt as she slapped him a few times while berating him, "Get a hold of yourself, Colin, and do not use the Lord's name in vain." "This." "Eisenhower!" Cletus yelled down at them before Keeney summoned a portal to heaven, and they went through only to be repelled back, making Cletus yell in disbelief, "What the?" As a group of more cherubs descended from the portal and it looked like the trio was getting in trouble, Blitz motioned for them all to split and he texted Luna to portal them back. Back in the IMP office, Blitz clapped his hands as he announced to them all, "Well, the old man wanted to live again and we didn't kill him, so we failed. Thanks to those fucking cherubs, he's probably up in heaven now, so." He stood dramatically in front of the hole still in the wall with his hands held behind his back, and he continued with a hint of sadness in his voice. "It's a shame. All our client wanted was eternal revenge on his business partner. And now the two are forever separated, and now we gotta face the fire of fucking up." "Sir, when are you going to tell the client?" Moxie questioned from where he sat at the meeting table with Millie, Luna, and Aiden, before Blitz turned around with his phone in his hand as he answered with a cheeky smile, "Oh, I already sent him a text, and we're in good hands, 'cause texts don't make people angry." Aiden wasn't able to fully see the text, but she could tell. Knowing Blitz, they would piss him off. A few seconds later, a rumbling signaled the return of Loopty, and Moxie was lucky enough to avoid the escalator that suddenly crashed through the wall to lead into the office as Loopty descended from it, calling out, "Blitzo! Lufa! We can explain everything!" Blitz started to explain worriedly when another escalator came crashing through a different part of the office wall, one that Moxie wasn't lucky enough to avoid as he got pinned under it as Lyle, now a sinner with piano keys for teeth and a rolling ball instead of legs, arrived, making Blitz and Millie exclaim in surprise, "Lyle Lipton?" Before Millie pointed out, "I don't understand. We thought you went to heaven." "Heaven? You don't make millions in technological advances in robotics by not experimenting on the poor." Lyle laughed, and Aiden lazily held a hand up from where she was laying her head on the table to comment, "Called it. Oh, you no-good, heartless son of a bitch. Thank you for reuniting me with my best friend." Loopty placed a hand on the shoulder of his friend, before turning to Blitz to thank him, before Lyle questioned, "The only question now is what do two old genius robotic inventors do now that we're in hell?" As if summoned, Wally Wackford crashed through the ceiling of the office and questioned loudly, "Did someone say, I say, inventors? Name's Wally Wackford, and I am looking for creative new people to exploit." Wally halted before adding slyly, I mean, employee! Everyone, stop fucking up my walls! Moxie's gonna have to fix all this shit, Blitz yelled, motioning to said imp only to reveal that he was in agony from being trapped under the escalator as froth was spilling out of his mouth. Oh, chill out, Moxie. If you kiss my ass any harder, you'll go right inside me. Satan's balls. First we deal with heaven's table scraps, now this? Blitz questioned to no one in particular, but Wally joked, I guess. You can say you have a holy operation here, Blitz. Making Aiden raise her eyebrows at the now deadpan glare Blitz was wearing from Wally pronouncing the O in his name while slapping his knee and laughing before Blitz commanded in an unamused tone, Get out. But Wally kept doubling over in laughter on the floor while Lyle and Loopty just looked on awkwardly. Oh, I say, oh. No, I'm serious. Get the fuck out. Everyone's eyes widened at Blitz's rage starting to show, so Loopty, Lyle, and Wally dashed out of the room, leaving the team there as Blitz brushed off his coat before announcing, Now that shit's over with, Millie. I'll run to get the stuff to fix the wall. And Moxie. Millie anticipated Blitz's plan and volunteered before grimacing as she looked over at her barely conscious, still-trapped husband as he squeaked out, So dark. Luna? Nope. She left without another word and slammed the door behind her, making Blitz cheerfully add, Alrighty then. Aiden, you're with me to sweep all this up. Fine. She lifted her head up from the table and gave a small stretch before standing up with a significant slouch in her posture. Come on, Mox. Millie hauled her husband up from the rubble and carried him over her shoulder out of the office for the repair supply run. Right then. Aiden was about to walk past Blitz to the janitor's closet when he suddenly grabbed the back of her shirt to halt her as he told her in a deadpan tone, Hold it right there, shithead. What? Aiden just dangled there as she asked in a blank tone before Blitz turned her around and dropped her back on her feet as he demanded, What the fuck's wrong with you today? Don't know what you mean. Aiden turned away with her arms crossed as Blitz pointed at her pushing, Don't you try to hide it. Showing up late for work. You barely made any smart-ass remarks the whole day. You got shot by a freaking heavenly weapon, and yet here you are, not a scratch on ya, and looking and sounding like some kinda undead human person thingy. A zombie? Aiden supplied in the same monotone voice and deadpan look. Yes. I haven't been sleeping all that great, so I showed up late because I overslept and I was in human form when I got shot, so maybe they just don't affect human forms. Aiden answered in the same bored tone she'd been using most of the day while shrugging, but it only seemed to make Blitz more impatient, especially when she tried to walk past him again. But he pulled her back by her tail with barely a response from Aiden, making him point out incredulously, I just fucking pulled your tail and poked your nose and you did nothing. I mellowed out for the day. I'd have thought you'd be happy about that since I'm such a prude. Aiden raised an eyebrow nonchalantly at her boss while making air quotes, but he just got in her face to point and accuse her. Bull crap. What is it? Chate? DCBD? If you're asking if I'm taking drugs, then no. Can we move this long? Aiden was starting to match Blitz's level of impatience for this conversation, making the two of them glare at each other for a minute before Blitz stood back up and answered peppily, Yeah, sure. Aiden gave him a seriously face before walking off to get the stuff from the janitor's closet, as it was revealed that Blitz, smirking triumphantly, had managed to use his tail to snag the half-torn baggie of mild catnip gummies, with only a few of them still inside from her satchel. Sniffing it as he grabbed the baggie between two pinched fingers and used his tongue to grab and swallow one of the gummies, he chewed for a few seconds before his eyes popped open wider comedically, and he spat out the mushy gummy out of the hole in the wall before muttering, Blea! Seriously? If she's going to try to hide this, she should at least have the strong stuff. Before his eyes widened again and he put on his plotting face with a hand under his chin. After Aiden managed to find the broom and dustpan, she started chucking all the bigger rocks out of the room onto the road down below, smirking a bit when a car honked or swerved, followed by Imps yelling, when she felt a chill run through her as her nerves start to rise again. Aiden stumbled a bit, almost falling right out of the hole in the wall, if she hadn't caught herself on the rim, when the sharp mental pains decided to rear their heads again. Ha! She sighed before grabbing her satchel off her back, about to rummage through it for her baggie, when Blitz suddenly slapped her back, making her shove her bag down as he announced, Doing great, kid. Keep at it. Before going back to his office as she gave off another what? Look at him before going back into her bag to pull out the baggie and grab some gummies without looking as she kept a watch out to make sure Blitz didn't try to barge back out. As soon as she dry swallowed them, though, she realized too late that the things she just swallowed were hard, oval-shaped, And definitely not some of her gummies. The fuck? It was her last clear thought before her eyes snapped open, pupils dilating until they nearly filled her eyes, fur raised as far as it could go, and everything seemed to sharpen as she shifted to Hellcat form just as a huge burst of energy shot through her, and she went on a zoomies rush heightened to 1,000. She bolted all around the room, knocking over things, scratching up the wallpaper, even running on the ceiling for a few seconds before gravity caught up to her and she fell to the floor, landing on her feet and continuing her rush. She had just bounced off the door to Blitz's office when he opened it and looked around yelling, "Christ on a stick, what the fuck is going— Row!" Right before Hellcat Aiden attached herself to his face with her claws, digging into his skin, making him yell and jerk his head around in an attempt to get her off before he grabbed her with both hands and tried to pry her off, but her claws only hooked in deeper. "Oh, wow, you little shit!" Blitz managed to pull her off his face, but she just bit into his wrist and stayed attached there, even as he flailed his arm around to dislodge her, cursing and yelling, even as Millie and Moxie opened the door to reveal they were back from the store with shopping bags in hand and Luna behind them to see the madness in front of them. Note to self, never leave those two alone again. Moxie commented while Millie nodded and hummed, "Mm-hmm." The two of them left the bags at the meeting table before leaving to wait out this insane development, and Luna stayed behind a second to snap a picture, only managing to catch a slightly fuzzy freeze frame of Aiden biting down on Blitz's arm with her cat eyes almost fully dilated and fur raised, but she smirked down at it before leaving the room too. Notes. N. Most of the outfit changes Aiden goes through in this episode, as well as the picture mentioned above, are available to see on my DeviantArt account under the same username. Just finished up Truth Seekers yesterday. But since I'm planning to combine the Aussies and Queen Bee episodes with how Aiden's going to be involved in the events in them with new scenes, having to be written instead of just rewriting the existing script, it may or may not take a while. For Season 2, there's going to be a lot more revealing of Aiden's history I have yet to fully solidify, so those episodes, chapters, might also take a while. But I will try to have them out as soon as I can without burning myself out, since I really do want to write this story well and for fun last thing. Hell yes! Season 1 of Has Been Hotel has finally been given a release date window, January 2024, over on Amazon Prime. Here's to hoping it'll be free, cause how. And from the teaser trailer, it's gonna be fucking wild. Mild Queen Bee reference intentional.d. Till the next chapter, bye.